Hi, today this is Kevin from Uncle Don's Hobbies. I'm going to talk to you about soldering. Soldering Dean's plugs are one of the hardest things that people try to do themselves, and I'm going to show you how to make it real easy. Uncle Don's has all the equipment, you have all the skill when you're done watching this video. Let's go over to the solder station. Okay, now we're at the soldering station, and this is it's an item called a jig is up. It's a aluminum block. It's a billet aluminum block. It's got some extra hands on it. It's got some holes for doing bullet connectors. It's got the attachment that we're going to see on how to do the Dean's connectors in just a moment. But the first thing we have to do is tin the wire. So the first thing we're going to do is get out some solder, relatively thin solder. We have our soldering iron here, and we can clean it by putting it in here and scratching it on this purpose-built stuff that makes it shiny and nice. We want a nice clean tip before we start. Then we're going to put some solder on the tip itself, put it underneath the wire, touch the solder to the wire and the tip, and voila, we have it tinned and ready to go for our next step. Okay, because of Magic TV time, we have both of the ends now tinned and ready to go, and now we're going to tin the Dean's plug itself. We have it here mounted in the jig is up with the flat side with the most amount of space sitting upwards, and we need to put a little mound of solder on here. First I touch the metal part on the Dean's plug, then I touch the solder to the tip and the metal part of the Dean's plug, and we get a little puddle of solder. It looks just like that. No more, no less. Now I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. Alrighty, I flipped it over and the jig is up. You'll notice now I can be vertical. The same thing applies. I have the side with the largest amount of space. If you do it on the outside, it tends to not fit and look as nice. So we're going to do it on this side. Once again, touching the solder iron to the metal, touching the solder to the metal and the Dean's plug, and voila, we've got that. Now we're ready to add our wire. So we're going to add our wire by sticking our wire on top, taking our soldering iron and putting it onto the top of the wire until the wire just begins to drop down. Then it is soldered tight as just as it can be. And I'm going to flip over the Dean's plug. Now you can watch while I do this. I undo the jig is up. I flip it over like that. Loosen the screw enough to fit this in here. It's very hot, so be careful with your fingers. Just slightly tighten that down, and now we're ready for our next piece. Our next piece is tinned, ready to go. Stick it over here, put that down on top of the little mound of solder. Put the soldering iron on top of the wire. Wait for the wire to just begin to melt the solder on the Dean's plug, which is pretty quick. Hold it still, and it changes color to kind of an opaque solder piece, and we are 100% soldered. Now taking these items here, we just take this here, clean our soldering iron for the next event, and we're all done and ready to go. In just a second, I'm going to show you how to put on shrink tubing. Okay, we're back. We have two perfectly soldered pieces on here. We're going to slide our shrink tubing on like that, and slide our shrink tubing on the other piece like that. We're going to take then the heat gun, which is just a high temperature kind of badass hair dryer, and we're going to apply the heat on it here, and watch how they shrink down. Now they're on there just tight as it comes, and you can use a lighter or butane torch to do the same thing, but this doesn't create any of the black soot or anything like that. So I want to appreciate you taking the time to watch Uncle Don's videos on how to solder Dean's plugs, and we welcome you into the store to help you with your further endeavors. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.